off by saying congratulations on getting a show in this year's comedy festival.
Thank you. Yeah, it feels good.
So, Aurelia, tell us a little bit about your show. Your show is called Woke 2.0. Tell us a little bit about the show that our listeners can expect to see from you this year.
So last year I wanted to put on a show in the festival, but the year had other plans, so that got cancelled, and I was going to call that show Woke. Also, sorry for the barking in the background. That's my puppy.
That's all right.
And then this year I wanted to bring that show back, and I changed a few things in the show around, and I thought I need a new name, but coming up with something completely new felt... I didn't feel true to it because so much of the material was going to stay the same, so I just called it Work 2.0 because it's a slightly changed title for a slightly changed show.
Yeah. And what are some of the themes that you actually look at during the show?
I talk a lot about my own experiences, moving to Australia from a different country, and things that are kind of like normal and hopefully relatable, like looking for a job and dating and spending a lot of time like on the interwebs and the kind of things that happen when you do that.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your past as a comedian. When did you realize that comedy was something that you were very good at and something that you could actually make a living out of?
Yeah, I started doing comedy around 4 years ago, like just doing lots of open mics and entering in the Raw Comedy competition, which is a way a lot of people get started in comedy in Melbourne or in Australia, I guess. And I just found that I had so much fun doing it as a hobby that I very quickly got addicted, and I'd do like 3 or 4 open mics a week when I started out, and then the longer you do comedy, obviously you get better at it, and then like other opportunities just sort of opened up from there, and the rest is history, I guess.
Yeah. Was it something that you'd always been interested in? Like, did you grow up watching certain comedians and knowing that was something that you could do?
I remember the first time I watched Subculture when I was like 16, and I just had never seen anything like it, and I was like in love with it. I didn't at the time think that's something I could do or would ever do, but I'd always write like funny little stories and Facebook status updates. I had a blog where I'd like write all kinds of nonsense, and from there it kind of just evolved. Like some of my first jokes were just stories I'd written online before.
Yeah, I get what you mean before when you said that you get addicted to it, because I did my first stand-up comedy bit just before COVID hit, and I was so nervous going into my first one, but then after that I was itching to do a second one, and I still haven't been able to because COVID hit in between. But what was that like for you when you first got up on stage to do your first comedy routine, and then how did you feel then when you got addicted to it?
So I was extremely nervous at first, and then when like one of the first jokes I'd written people laughed at, I felt such a sense of relief and like happiness.
Yeah.
And I guess you're just chasing, the feeling of other people laughing at you and with you, and that feels really good. So as soon as I figured that, people do laugh at the things I have to say, I just wanted to replicate that again and again. Obviously, it's sort of a thing of trial and error, especially when you're starting out, because there's stuff you can, I guess, like talk to your mates about, and it's really funny because you all have the same like context.
Yeah.
And then it's completely different to make a joke to an audience who doesn't have any of that context, and you kind of need to bring them in and like structure it so that it's universally understandable.
Yeah. You also received the 2020 stand-up grant as well. Tell us a little bit about that and what that's meant for your career.
Yeah, so the stand-up grant was or is, I'm not sure if it's still current is an initiative by the Victorian government to support up-and-coming comedians who are female or non-binary, I believe.
Yeah.
And the reason it was launched was because comedian Eurydice Dixon was murdered when she was on her way home from a gig. And this was kind of just in light of that to help new comics kind of give a little leg up or like a boost.
Yeah.
And that has been really helpful for me because a lot of people might not know, but a lot of expenses go into making a comedy festival show. And this just helped me to not have to dig into my savings to put on a show.
Yeah. I was wondering, could you, talk about that a little bit, the expenses, because that's probably something that not a lot of people know about, especially when we've come off such a tough year when people haven't been able to perform. What are some of those expenses that you actually look at? Because I think the misconception out there in the public is that comedians get paid to be at the festival and that's great, but what are those expenses that they actually do have to pay for themselves?
Yeah, so for a lot of festivals, there's a registration fee. So there's also a registration fee for the Melbourne Festival. Then you have to obviously make your poster and your marketing materials. So paying for a photo shoot, and maybe even like a makeup artist so that you look good in that poster. Then printing out posters and flyers, paying for marketing, I guess, on Facebook and ads like that.
Yeah.
And then also the room that you perform in, you're actually hiring that room for the duration of your performance. And that just kind of adds up. Usually to rent, let's say, a room to do your show in for an hour could cost almost as much as a week's rent.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And, of course, coming off the back of 2020, how did you spend 2020? Because it was such a tough year. As I said before, for myself, I did my first show and then wasn't able to ever do a second one yet. So what was 2020 like for you?
So I, like everyone, I guess, spent a lot of time online and at home. I was reading a lot and watching just so many movies. And I wasn't feeling very motivated to write new comedy material because I felt like there wasn't enough going on in my life. And also I felt like everyone would just be talking and writing jokes about COVID.
Yep.
Which isn't really my style because I feel like we're all so tired and so over it that it's not a good subject to write 20 minutes about because we've all sort of talked about everything that can be talked about that subject.
Definitely.
So yeah, towards the middle/end of the year, I was just thinking, I'm just going to take it easy and this is my year off and I'm probably never going to have a chance to relax this much at home, and I try to enjoy it as much as possible.
Definitely. That's something that I've noticed for a few people, especially a lot of musicians. It was a great year to kind of get off the road, get off touring, and just relax for 12 months. And I've spoken to so many people who have actually come out of this saying that they feel like their batteries have been recharged and they're ready to just jump into this year.
Yeah, I felt that as well.
So I'm coming along to check out your show on Tuesday night, and I can't wait. But for all the listeners that are listening at the moment, tell them why they should come along and see your show.
So you should come to Work 2.0 because it is funny, but it's also maybe going to make you think and maybe even going to make you a little bit, uncomfortable, but in a good way.
Yeah.
I always encourage that. And also, you should come because I think I need all the support I can get, and you would really be doing an act of charity.
So listeners, if you want to head along to check out Woke 2.0, all the details are up on our website right now for times, dates, and how to get tickets. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, just go directly beneath where you found the podcast dates, times, and also ticket information will be there as well. Aurelia, thank you so much for coming on our show today. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, and I cannot wait to check out your show on Tuesday night.
Thank you so much. Can't wait to meet you as well.
Not a problem. I'll let you go. Have a happy Sunday, and we'll see you on Tuesday.
See you on Tuesday.
Awesome.
Bye.
See you then. Bye.